What's going on, guys? Tyler here. Sorry to kind of cut in before the episode starts here, but unfortunately, as you guys will soon see, there was an issue with our audio on not only this recording, but on our upcoming recording. We had to double record this week because I am going to be going out of town very soon here, and so I wanted to have stuff for you guys to kind of sink your teeth into. We work very, very hard on these projects, but unfortunately, I guess there was something wrong with the recording. You're going to hear that it's going to sound a little echoey and robotic. I know what that means. I know what causes it. I just wasn't able to catch it before it was obviously well too late, and I was already done with the recordings and editing the videos and everything like that. So unfortunately, I just have to live with it, and unfortunately that means you guys have to live with it as well. I hate it just as much as you do. I'm very frustrated because I've had a lot of audio issues, and I continue to have audio issues since I moved to this new apartment that I didn't have before, and I continue to try to make it work. I continue to try to change settings and figure it all out, but unfortunately, nothing seems to work. I don't believe it's my microphone because when I record on stuff other than my software that I use to record, there's no audio issues whatsoever. There never has been, so I don't think it's the microphone itself, but again, I'm just getting a little frustrated with it, as I'm sure you guys are too, but again, it's going to sound robotic, it's going to sound a little echoey. You can still hear everything that we're saying clearly. It's not like it's going to be super bad or anything. It just gets a little bit annoying at times, so I do apologize sincerely to all of you, and I will do my very best to make sure it doesn't continue to happen in the future, but unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. I can't re-record them. I just don't have time before I leave, and so they are what they are. So hopefully that you guys, you still enjoy it, and hopefully you guys still give us your opinion on the actual content of the video and not necessarily the sound quality. That's going to be taking a pretty big hit here. So thank you guys for your support, and hopefully you guys have a great holiday season. All right, welcome back, everybody, and welcome back, Dan. Thanks for coming back and continuing the series with me. So today we are going to be talking about the Universal Championship. How we're going to book the Universal Championship. If you haven't seen the previous videos, definitely go check those out. What we're doing is we are fantasy booking from right now all the way through Wrestlemania 40 in Philadelphia. And so today is the Universal Championship, obviously held by the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, the former big dog, Roman Reigns. And so we will see how different our bookings are going to be. Spoiler alert, it is going to be very different, at least I presume. And so the way we're going to do it is we're just going to kind of ping pong back and forth in between PLEs, or pay-per-views. For those people who do not know what PLE is, it is just a new name for pay-per-view. Premium Live Event is what it stands for. So obviously one of us will talk all the way up through Rumble in a few weeks, and then the other one will go, and then obviously the other one will go through Elimination Chamber, and the other one will go, so on and so forth until WrestleMania. And so right now, I am just so excited to hear what you have to say, Dan. So if you want to get things started, how do you have this thing going until the Rumble?
I have to say, when we first talked about this idea, I kind of pretty quickly booked all the way through WrestleMania, probably like that first day we talked. And I've done little tweaks on how to get there the week since. But then I'm listening to a podcast that I just started listening to a little while ago, Not Sam Wrestling. So I have to give credit for that podcast to plant this idea in my head. And I kind of agree in some respects. But I've changed how I'm booking this. And you're going to love it. I know you're going to love this.
Okay.
So,
I think your definition of love and mine are very different.
Let me just say, I hope the person that takes the Universal title off of Roman is still Cody Rhodes.
Oh, no.
I do still hope that, but I don't know if we're good.
All right, guys, that's the video. I'm going to go try and die
Roll
now.
credits.
Unfortunately, no, I have to sit through whatever is going to happen now.
Cody's eventually going to take this off. We even talked this a little before we started recording, but I won't spoil my whole thing right now. But it's like you said, May's going to look different. The reason the reason this can look different is I feel we still have more stories to tell with Roman and other opponents before we get back to Cody and Roman again. One of those matches I'd love to actually even see would be Roman and Rollins one more time, because that chapter has never really fully ended, even though they had a match last year. I believe that was Rumble last year. Funny finish. They always are with Roman. But there's so much history to still ride from that. I almost kind of want that one more time before we get back to Rhodes and Roman. But just to get to Rumble, we'll start there. I think, the one thing we talked about last week with U.S. title was how many, should we see each title defended on each brand, or not each brand, on each PLE. So, and I'm not going as far as say we're not even going to see Roman. We'll see Roman at the Royal Rumble. But I think over the next couple weeks, we're going to see his opponent get set up. In some ways, I feel they could go a triple threat, even a fatal four-way. Now that AJ Styles is back and looking huge and jacked, just like Orton. And to me, it's like, that look kind of counts for me. That look is like, they're getting ready to go through some beatings with Roman. Or the whole bloodline, or however you want to look at it. So that's why I'm thinking we're going to get more stories out of more opponents. Now that Styles is back, is he a Rumble opponent? Is Orton? Is Knight back in the picture? Does he get his rematch that quickly? So I think over the next couple weeks, we will see that opponent determined for Roman, but I think it's going to be a one-on-one match. My pick right now, even though we've had both Orton and Styles return, I think Orton's going to get his first shot at Roman at Rumble. Whether we get it through matches or just Pierce picking it, however we get there, I think we'll get Orton, Roman. It's a storyline we wanted to be paid off for almost 2 years now. When Matt Riddle was with the company, great tag team matches between RK Bro and the Bloodline. And I felt they were setting up Orton and Reigns right before Orton got hurt. So I think I'd like to see them cap it off well at Rumble. I think you can keep Orton around that picture for a while longer, or at least between him and Styles, or him and Knight, the way they've planted. So I think we'll see Orton stay in that picture. But I think of anybody that's going to get their shot at Rumble, Orton is going to be that guy. Again, I think we'll see that determined on SmackDown in the next week or two. But yeah, I think it's going to be a one-on-one match at the Rumble with Reigns. Reigns winning, retaining over Orton. But we're finally going to get Reigns and Orton at Rumble.
Okay. I like it. Obviously scared where you're going. But it doesn't matter if I'm scared or not. It is obviously all fantasy booking for a reason, so we will see. I'm very excited to see where you're going with that. I think I personally believe that Randy versus Roman is the most likely match to happen. It's not what I have happening exactly, but I think that if you're going to do a one-on-one match, and you told me you have to pick one guy that Roman's facing at Rumble, I would obviously say Randy makes the most sense at this point. So yeah, I like it. I think it's straightforward, makes sense. So I would assume, I know we've got AJ and LA Knight in the picture right now. Mm-hmm. Are you thinking a number one contenders match somewhere? Are you thinking that LA Knight and Styles just kind of exit the scene a little bit? What are you thinking?
I think they might exit the scene for a little bit. We obviously got Styles returning this past Friday. And he obviously, went after Knight. And I think it's interesting he went after Knight, but at the same time, Styles was about to get his match with Roman, but then he got hurt, so Knight got put in that picture. So it's like, hey, I'm coming back for my spot that you took. So I think, It's simple, but simple is effective. I think it's very effective right now in the main title scene for the Universal title. So yeah, we might see them exit for a little bit, and then they work their way back in once we get past Rumble.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so what I have happening leading up to the Royal Rumble, the last thing that I've seen is LA Knight and Randy Orton kind of battling the Bloodline, Roman coming out and attacking, and then obviously AJ Styles returning. So, there's three guys that want to fight the Bloodline and 3 guys in the Bloodline. And so I think that what's going to happen is I think that there's going to be a number 1 contenders triple threat match. One of these next couple SmackDowns, obviously the 3 number 1 contenders being Randy Orton, LA Knight, and AJ Styles. And I think that the Bloodline is going to come out and just wreak havoc in the match. I think that it's legitimately going to be ruled a no contest. They're going to try and destroy all 3 guys because the Bloodline doesn't want any of those guys fighting Roman. And kind of like, a little older WWE from when I was kids, whenever you do that, that means you're not fighting one of them, you're fighting all of them. Roman, you're not in a one-on-one match anymore. It's a fatal 4-way at Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles versus Randy Orton versus LA Knight. Yeah. Sorry. But
you teed me up for it. No. Yeah.
So, and the reason why, and again, I completely agree that if there is going to be a one-on-one match, it should be Randy. But aren't we just kind of all a little sick and tired of Roman just being in one-on-one matches where the Bloodline interferes and costs one guy the match? I mean, isn't there just a little bit of like, can't we just change it up a tiny bit? Like, I still have the Bloodline costing all those guys the title, but can it at least be in a different format where there's no disqualifications and we can use the Bloodline interference to tell a story and further a specific rivalry in there for Elimination Chamber or for a different, or for down the road with something else? Like, can't we just use that as something else? I feel like we've just seen so many one-on-one matches with Roman, and they all end the same. Jimmy Uso comes out and costs somebody, or Solo comes out and costs somebody, and then that's it, and then they move on, and they do whatever else they want. Well, if you're going to do that, I think that in a fatal 4-way where the Bloodline is actually outnumbered is a different way to tell that story. It's not just Roman and 2 other henchmen, and the one babyface is trying to fight off all 3 of them. There's 3 guys, so the Bloodline doesn't have the numbers advantage anymore. But I think that the Bloodline, if you tell the story right, the Bloodline can do just enough to take out one very specific member of the Fatal 4-Way match to set up something a couple of weeks before Elimination Chamber to kind of set up a rivalry match that I have at WrestleMania. And the way I have it booked is obviously the Bloodline come out, they do just enough because they take out Randy Orton. They take out Randy Orton in that match. They put him through the barricade. He's not involved in the finish at all. But Solo gets down and just Samoan spikes Randy Orton to no end, just like he did Cena. And he takes Randy Orton out of action for a few weeks. Now, I know Randy Orton just came back. Maybe you don't want to take him off TV for a few weeks. I get that. But let's be honest with ourselves. There's enough going on. You don't need Randy Orton right now.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. SmackDown's 2-hour show. You don't always need Orton. And it's more of a kayfabe thing of taking Orton off TV. So I could see doing that.
Awesome. I appreciate that. But another thing that I have is I'm going to steal a finish from WrestleMania a couple of years ago. I think that you need to definitively get AJ Styles and LA Knight out of the title picture. Because otherwise, since there's no technical automatic rematch clauses anymore and all that stuff, these guys are just going to keep on coming back and keep on attacking the bloodline, and the stories are going to go on forever and ever, amen, right? It's going to be this whole thing. So I think that you need to have a visual that in the fan's mind and in the wrestler's mind, you can't dispute anything. Sure, the bloodline interfered, but we all knew that, and you had the numbers advantage. So that's not really an excuse, because it's still one-on-one. You still have to be better than the other guys. So I think if you take AJ out, or excuse me, you take Randy Orton out, my apologies, and you do a recreation of the double pin from WrestleMania a few years ago where Roman pinned Daniel Bryan and Edge, you have him pin both LA Knight and AJ Styles at the same time, they will have no recourse. Those guys, they're done. Like, you can't be like, but I deserve it. No, you really don't. You kind of got destroyed, man. Like, there's no, you don't have any recourse for this.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that the bloodline should just come in and do all the work and Roman just slide over and put his arms on both of them. No. I'm saying that the bloodline cause distractions and they do just enough to take out Randy so that the numbers are kind of in their favor. They do little distractions here and there. They may not get physically involved, and Roman's good enough to physically dominate at that point.
Yep.
Take those guys out of it. Roman retains. Randy Orton still has a problem with the bloodline, but I think at this point you should take Styles and you should take LA Knight and say, that was your shot. Maybe you can revisit the AJ thing later if you really want to, depending on what you guys think's happening at Mania, but I don't think that they should. I don't think AJ really should be on SmackDown for much longer as far as I'm concerned, because, spoiler, we're going to have some guys going from Raw to SmackDown in my bookings. I think that he should just go to Raw and start battling for that title over there. Start battling for the IC title. Start battling for the world title. Get all the fresh matchups in there. So I think that he should go over there, because unfortunately his alliance with the Good Brothers is not going anywhere. I love Gallows and Anderson. I think that they have been one of the most misused and underutilized tag teams in WWE history. Yeah. They are so good when they go literally anywhere else except for WWE, but they keep on coming back for more. But they just keep on not using them, so I don't know how many times.
Well, it's like if they are only relevant if Styles is relevant. So if Styles goes away, and they just get pushed off.
Exactly.
Which isn't fair.
No, it's not fair.
Especially when you take teams and stuff like that.
Right. So, but that's my thoughts on Royal Rumble. So again, Fatal 4-Way, and then I have Roman retaining.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you who you thought would get the pin. So double pin, because that was Daniel Bryan and Edge, right?
If I have to pick one person, AJ's getting pinned.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to protect LA Knight, you don't want to have him.
Right.
But the problem is
more protection, I guess.
Right, but I don't think considering where we have LA Knight going,
right?
He doesn't. At least I feel like I mean I can't remember every single individual detail of your bookings, but at least in mine, he's going to be off TV for a couple of weeks, and then he's going to come out of the Elimination Chamber to a huge pop and fight Logan Paul. I really don't think you need to have LA Knight be a visual winner before he gets there to still have that effect. So I don't think it matters much.
He's very popular within the product right now to where that takes care of both of them. You can't really hurt them. Styles just came back. Styles is one of the best wrestlers just to begin with, period. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can't really hurt him in kind of booking. Yeah. And, and then again, get a little bit of a rivalry, get a nice new fresh rivalry there.
Who knows? LA Knight's going to need a challenger for the U.S. title after Mania. Why not AJ?
Yeah, it's very true. Very true.
All right. Obviously, we'll move on to our booking up through Elimination Chamber. Yep. But before we get to that, the Royal Rumble. Is the Royal Rumble going to play a part in the Universal Championship title picture? Because if so, you've got to spill the beans as to who is winning.
I have the winner of the Rumble affecting more of the World Heavyweight Championship title right now. Okay. I think the build to the end of that will help get some other one-on-one rivalries that we could see at Mania, but they don't need to be centric around a title. Like Jimmy and Jay, everybody's stuff with Jimmy and Jay. Maybe have them face. I think we can kind of build on a couple, at the Rumble, even at Chamber, kind of build with that rivalry to get to that point. Further bloodline causes. But yeah, no, the winner of who I have right now for the winner of the Rumble would not affect the Universal title picture.
Okay, fair enough. Well, mine will.
I wonder who you picked.
Yeah, it's really not a secret. Cody Rhodes is winning the Royal Rumble, and I don't...
Second year in a row.
Second year in a row. And look, I'll say this now, but I'm going to put out a small video about this too. I'm going to be doing an entire fantasy booking of the Men's Royal Rumble this year.
I'm excited to see that.
I have my 1 through 30. I have all my storylines lined up. I have everything ready to go. So I will give you guys a small taste as to how that Rumble is going to go right now. But if you guys want to see the rest of how I have the Rumble go, you're going to have to watch that. Some of you might be watching this after that video comes out. Obviously, it hasn't come out yet. But go check it out if you haven't, if it's later on in life. So I have Cody Rhodes going from start to finish. I have him entering the Rumble at 1. I have him winning the whole thing. A lot of people said that that's what should have happened last year, but I think it would have honestly been worse for last year because everybody knew that Cody was coming back, so it wouldn't have been it really would not have been a huge, like, crazy moment to people because everybody knew he was winning last year. Like, there was no, like, nobody else was going to win that match. It was Cody's match.
Yep.
So having him go from 1 to winning doesn't really matter if everybody knows you're winning. Now, they also did it with Rhea Ripley last year, so having 2 1 to 30s on the same night, I think is a little unrealistic, first of all.
Right.
And second of all, it would have taken away from both.
Yes.
But this year, I don't have I don't know if I'm going to fantasy book the Women's Rumble or not, but...
That might be a little tougher.
But that would be a lot tougher, but I know who I have winning the Women's Rumble, and let's just say they're coming out at like number 28 or 30 if they win.
Yeah.
Like they're not going from start to finish like Rhea did. So if you're gonna have a long winner, it's gonna be Cody. I think that's the way you kind of build that underdog story. And to me, it just makes the most sense because spoiler, he's facing Roman at Mania. That's why I'm talking about it in this video. He has to be on SmackDown for some reason, and the easiest way to do that is I won the Royal Rumble, I choose to face Roman, there you go. Like, that's it. That's the easiest way to do it. Sure, you can kind of finagle a story where, you know, you have him in a chamber match, and he wins the chamber match and gets a number 1 contender shot at Roman, but then that would mean that either you do half SmackDown, half Raw for some reason, which... that's a little bit more of a reach than winning the Rumble, or you just have Cody in there with a bunch of other SmackDown guys, which that's an even bigger reach in terms of... So the most coherent story for me to get Cody onto SmackDown is just win the Rumble.
Yeah.
You can tell the other stories that you're trying to tell, and I can tell the other stories that I'm trying to tell in this fantasy booking without having Cody not win the Rumble. Cody can win the Rumble. You don't have to have Punk win the Rumble, or Gunther win the Rumble, or whoever else you feel like wanting to win the Rumble. You can still tell those other stories because they're on their own brands, or at least in my book. Except, I mean, is it really a secret that it's going to be Jimmy and Jay at WrestleMania? I don't think it is. They're not on the same brands, but they'll figure something out with that. Yeah. I mean, they've jumped each other on the other shows a bunch of times at this point anyway.
Right.
So who cares?
And I think Mania is kind of that one exception where you can have a little, you know, between brand warfare, especially when you're looking at how entrenched those two have been in the Bloodline story for so long now. No, I think if Rhodes is the one who wins Rumble, I'm 100% with you. He has to go start to finish. I don't think there's another way. You can't have him come in here because again that builds that story that he's been trying to tell that everybody's trying to tell now because it feels kind of an overused phrase right now in wrestling.
It definitely is, and Cody will tell you that too.
But again, being the guy that originally kind of tried to kind of coin that phrase in recent years, you know, I don't see how you couldn't have him go start to finish if he's the top brass picked with the Rumble.
For sure. Okay, so you don't have the Universal Championship being affected by the Rumble. I obviously do. So now we will go through Elimination Chamber. Dan, go ahead first.
In Chamber, we have 4 weeks, I believe, between Chamber and Rumble. We're just kind of alluding to a number 1 contender match. I have a number 1 contender match for the Universal title at Chamber. 3 Raw, 3 SmackDown. You could have, tournament matches, or not, set up set up qualifying matches. That's what I'm looking for. Qualifying matches to get into the chamber. Again, 3 Raws, 3 SmackDown. The people I have from Raw would be Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Finn Balor. On the SmackDown side, I have LA Knight.
Yeah.
AJ Styles.
I was really hoping that you were setting me up for that, but you paused.
I paused. LA Knight, Styles, and Solo. Solo's close.
Solo in the chamber, fighting for the #1 contendership.
Yep.
Ooh, okay.
They just planted the seed that Roman's not going to be around for much longer. And the much longer is different, I think, across the board, from fans to podcasters to whomever. Even you and I differ on that right now, but everything kind of counts. I wish I remember which PLE it was, but it might have been after one of the Saudi ones this year, where Paul Heyman was asked a question. The press conferences they do now, which I think is a nice little touch. It's a little, I think, on the nose, but I think it's a nice little touch. I think they kind of took it from the other wrestling company a little bit, but I like it. Paul was asked, when do we get to the end of the story? And Paul Heyman was like, we're only in the 3rd inning.
Yeah.
So, again, I think that was about 6 months ago, if I remember correctly. So maybe right now we're in that 5th, 6th inning. Again, we have more stories I think we can tell with Roman. Solo's one of them. Styles is one of them. We'll get back to Knight eventually. We'll get back to Rhodes eventually. Rollins is potentially another story there to still tell. And I believe I don't know the exact date, but I believe end of August, early September. If Roman still has the title, I think once we kind of get into September, I think he has. I think he would surpass Hulk Hogan there on the list. I think that'd be the 3rd longest reign. That as the way WWE recognizes it, which is weird and convoluted to begin with. We all know that. But he would be officially 3rd on that list. I don't know how many fans. I don't think either you or I really care how long he's really had the title. I don't really think him being another name on top of that list, a little name higher, is really an eye catcher for a lot of people. Maybe it is, and might be more important in WWE headquarters that Roman is above Hulk Hogan now, and then he finally does give up the title. I don't know, but it seems to kind of be. They made such a big deal about the 1,000-day reign. They made a big deal about Gunther's reign for being so long. He's now the longest IC title heavyweight champion. So that's where I feel is a big part of the story too. It's like, I think the potential is there. It seems to go beyond Mania. But anyway, Chamber, #1 contender match. Finn, Jey, and Rhodes from Raw, Styles, Knight, Solo from SmackDown. I actually have Styles winning that match. Styles win the #1 contender match, and he gets Roman at WrestleMania. And the reason I go into that too, and this goes place I think, well, I love your shocked face right now. It's beautiful.
I'm happy and I'm shocked at the same time. So I'll let you explain. But
2 weeks ago, I was 100% on board with you with Rhodes Reigns at WrestleMania. My way of getting there wouldn't have been Rumble. Mine would have been the #1 contendership match. But I'm just like, now that we actually have Styles back, I'm kind of like, let's get that quick story in first before we get back to Roman and Rhodes. So Styles wins. We were just talking about the Good Brothers. We're talking about numbers with the Bloodline. I think in the matches between Chamber and Mania, the Good Brothers actually get involved a little bit. They help Styles out, so he's not always overmatched. They're right there in his corner when he has the inevitable match with Jimmy, as a prove-it match. When he has that inevitable prove-it match with Solo. Because every contender always gets those matches. Again, it's getting a little repeatable. It's like, maybe this is a contender. Maybe this is the contender to finally do it. Maybe this is the guy to finally do it. So yeah, I have Styles at Mania. Win the number one contendership at Chamber. Styles, Roman at Mania. And the part of me too is it's almost like, to me it's almost become too easy to be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Roman and Rhodes at WrestleMania. To me that's almost too easy right now.
So let me ask you this. I know it doesn't necessarily have any bearing on the Universal title, but if you don't have Rhodes in that spot, what is he doing at Mania? Like, what match is he in? Who is he feuding with? Does somebody cost him the Chamber match? Because let's be honest with ourselves, it's not exactly commonplace for Cody Rhodes to lose things.
No.
He has to be pinned in that Chamber to lose.
He does.
So, or he needs to be injured and taken out of action, which, I mean, you could tell that story, I suppose, if you wanted to.
I guess you could. I don't think you go back to that well. I mean, the pec...
No, of course.
The torn pec was definitely not a fake story or kayfabe, whatever.
Yeah, especially when all you've been telling is... Yeah, it doesn't matter if Cody's body is legitimately decaying actively, he's still fighting. Like, he fought with a broken arm, he fought with a torn pec. Like, I'm pretty sure you would have to decapitate Cody Rhodes for him to leave a number one contendership match at WrestleMania. Like, there's no injury that you could sell to me at this point, logically, for that to work. But again, I mean, I guess you could try.
I'm not sure what to do with Rhodes after Chamber. That's maybe it's Styles that pins Rhodes, but I think Rhodes has to be taken out earlier. But I think Styles could do it in a way where you could do more of a submission move, or he hits a couple Styles clashes to do it. Again, Styles came back pretty jacked too now, so it's like he can take he seems to be built up for taking and bruising in something like a Chamber maybe. Maybe have Orton. Help Rhodes a little bit, and then turn on Orton, or then turn on Rhodes in the match. Maybe that leads to something for those two. I don't know. I think you could do a lot of different things, but no, I actually haven't given that much thought of what do you do with Rhodes until you do pit him and Roman together. There is the brand thing right now, and I think you either have to do a number one contendership at a Chamber or win the Rumble, so maybe that makes it easier to keep them apart for a while until inevitably we put them back together. But obviously the meantime, I feel the Shinsuke storyline will probably be wrapped up within the next month or two. Probably at Rumble, I could see that really good past Rumble. So maybe it's not, or maybe Rhodes doesn't even get to the Chamber. Maybe he has something else going on to where he's not even in that picture. I think it's. You could go a lot of different directions, I think, there. I think Rhodes has to be in that, pretty much has to be in that number one contender match, but I think I just think Rhodes and Roman is too easy at Mania right now. Yeah, we had it last year. Yeah, we want it this year. I wouldn't be disappointed if that's what it is this year. Not in the least. But I just don't. Because if it's Roman and Rhodes is taking title. I don't think you can have him lose a second time at Mania. And then so I think you lose out on a bunch of stories. I didn't even mention, having Punk run. We talked about, matches we'd like to see Punk have. I don't think Punk and Roman needs a title, but again, that's another potential story you could tell before Rhodes, took out Roman.
Yeah. Definitely much different than where I'm going. Clearly, you guys already know where I'm going with this, but I will say this. There's there's more than one thing, but the main thing that I agree with you on is that you can't have Cody lose twice. I think you either have to finish the story at Mania, or you don't even try and tell it at this year's Mania, and you save it for next year's Mania. Oh man, another year. I don't think I can handle it, but you can't, if Cody's not winning the championship, you just can't have Cody in that match. He's got to do something else.
Yes.
Now, as I sit here, I don't really know what I would have AJ do at WrestleMania right now. I think that, AJ is in that weird spot where he's really, really good. But he doesn't really need to do much in terms of, he doesn't need to fight for a title to to have it be credible. Like I feel like you can have an AJ match with
kind of like Punk, you know, the name resounds. It's like, I want to see whoever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you have him face a surprise NXT call up that comes up. Maybe you have him versus Carmelo Hayes at WrestleMania, like you did. Like this is gonna be a really weird comparison, but like a Chris Jericho versus Fandango a bunch of years ago, or like Carmelo Hayes' not first match, but like first real big match program on the main roster is against AJ, and he wins. Like, really solidify him as a guy that you have a high stock on, like something like that, maybe. Braun Breaker, that might be a spot where he gets called up. I don't know. I think that would be a lot of fun. Like, AJ just pining for a world championship match. He just gets speared out of his gourd by Braun Breaker on a SmackDown. I think that would be really interesting. And you know what? I think right now, I might have Braun Breaker... I might have to throw Braun Breaker somewhere in the Rumble because he doesn't have a feud in NXT right now. He's not really doing much. I think if you're going to call him up, why not now, right? So, but anyways, so my booking to Elimination Chamber, I've gone back and forth between one of two ways that we could do this. So, I mentioned earlier the kind of taking Randy Orton out of that Fatal 4-Way where he didn't really get a fair shake to be in there at the end where one RKO could win it. Because again, in a Fatal 4-Way, Roman doesn't have to lose.
Right.
And I think that's another way that you can tell that story is, can you imagine a 3+ year long title reign losing by Roman not being pinned? Imagine if Randy Orton RKO's AJ Styles and takes the Universal Championship from Roman like the lunacy that I think that's another way you could tell that story, which is, I should have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't. But I think that gives Orton the claim of, I didn't get a fair shake. You beat those other two guys. You didn't beat me.
Right.
So that you could set that up for Chamber.
Yep.
But I also just love me a good old contract signing sometimes. And I think that a beautiful Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns contract signing would be nice at Chamber. So I decided to sort of combine them? Sort of? Not really. I'll explain. So I still think that you do, because for those of you who do not know, Elimination Chamber is in Australia. And there's this thing about, you know, when WWE goes to other countries, especially countries that they really never go to, like Australia, I think they've only ever been to once or twice, in the history of the company, a lot of those places, they want to see big name stars, even if like an American audience isn't necessarily all the way into that character at this point in their career.
Right.
But like, how many times are people in Australia going to get to see John Cena? Whereas we see John Cena every week. Well, not anymore, obviously, but you know, when he was here, like...
Yeah, when he was full-time, yeah.
Yeah, or like this is popular in the Saudi shows. They wanted to see Undertaker and Goldberg fight. They're both 50 years old. Nobody wants to see that. Yeah, but the Saudi Arabian crowd has never seen The Undertaker wrestle in person. They've never seen Goldberg. Imagine how cool that would be for them. Okay, fair enough. Like, so I think that having a Randy Orton match and against Roman Reigns in Australia, I think that kind of plays into that, where they might want to see Randy Orton in a match more than, not necessarily maybe an LA Knight. I think LA Knight's beyond popular to the point of they want to see him in anything at this point. But, you know, I don't think that, like, the, like, Sami Zayn-esque story that they told last year would work in Australia for anybody, because they might just want to see Randy Orton because they've never seen Randy Orton wrestle there before. And everybody like, oh my God, it's Randy Orton. Look at him. He's right there. So I think that would be nice. You know, maybe you tie a bow onto that rivalry. Randy Orton puts up a heck of a fight, but Roman goes over. And please, for the love of goodness gracious, don't have it be by bloodline interference. And just have it be a clean win for once.
I think it's a match you could get away with having a clean win. And again, you know, I think we've had some of these non-clean wins just because of wanting to elevate the contender that Roman's been against. But again, Orton doesn't need to be elevated. Orton, he's a legend killer. He reminded us of that on Friday.
Yeah.
He's a legend killer, which I love the promo back and forth between them. I wasn't expecting that between them that quickly. which leads me to why, that's something I should have brought up, and I'm like, that's why I think it's just those two at Rumble.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no reason to, get that interference, for once. Because Randy can take that clean pin, move on to the program.
And so to combine with a contract signing, obviously Roman versus Randy closes the show, and Cody Rhodes is at ringside because no matter who wins, he is facing whoever wins that match. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason why I wanted to push Randy and Roman to the Elimination Chamber, because I have Cody winning. He's either going to finish his story and have redemption against Roman Reigns. I'm just getting my names all screwed up here. Against Roman Reigns, avenge for last year, win the title at Mania. Or, obviously this part wouldn't happen, but you can say the story. Or, what if he beats his old mentor at WrestleMania for the title? Talk about full circle. Whew. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen. However, if you said that was a possibility of happening, there's no part of that would make you go, oh, come on, that's a bunch of baloney. No, that actually is a real thing. Can you imagine if Cody wins his first world championship against the guy who he basically was tied to the hip with for years in the legacy?
No.
You can tell that. So Cody can sit there and go, no matter what, I win. Really? I either get to avenge my loss against Roman, or I get to beat my old mentor? Oh, yeah, I'm going to go to the Universal Championship picture, please. Mm-hmm. Like, that's an easy story to tell. So he sits there at ringside and he watches the match. He never gets involved. I don't even know if I'd want to have him on commentary. I just want him to sit there in his nice 29-piece suit or whatever he's going to wear. Right? 30-piece. I'm sorry. Sorry, Cody, 30-piece. I don't want to jip you on your one piece of your suit. So stupid. But he can just sit there. Heck, I don't even know if he should talk or move. Just have him sit there with his arms crossed and just watch the whole match. And have him hold a contract in his hand. He just sits there. When Roman wins, Cody gets in the ring. He stares him down. He signs the contract. He drops it in front of Roman. And he walks away. So you can have both. And I don't think that's really something that has ever been done before. So I think that would be a nice touch.
That'd be cool.
And also, that means that Cody doesn't have to wrestle at Chamber. Which obviously, that's not like... I'm sure people in Australia wouldn't love the aspect of that. But at least they get to see him.
Yes.
Like we went to Raw the other week. Cody didn't wrestle, but we got to see him. And it was wonderful. It was lovely. We had a great time. So... and you know what? Maybe if you want to do like a little fight at the end where Roman tries to attack Cody, crossroads, and then everybody goes home happy and Roman leaves, and then Cody gets on the mic and says to all the fans that he loves him in Australia, and it's just lovely. Whatever I don't care what you do. But I think that that's a way to combine the two, because I really was having a hard time picking between the two. Just not having Roman wrestle at Chamber at all, which I think that if you're going to go all the way to Australia and it's this close to Mania, I feel like you have to have Roman wrestle, right? Like that. To me, I just feel like that's.
Yeah.
I feel like the Australian fans would be like, really? Like, you got a 3-year champion that we all kind of want to see wrestle, and he's not even going to wrestle? That's not cool. Like, I feel like you kind of have to have him wrestle. It doesn't have to be an absolute 40-minute classic like has been what feels like all of Roman's matches lately. It's against Randy. Like, none of them have to prove anything. We all know Randy's not winning. So just have it be a nice match where Randy hits an RKO. Heck, maybe even have him hit 2. And Roman still kicks out of it. Yep. And Randy gets frustrated, and, maybe you have Solo come out, just music-wise, and he just stares at Randy, and Randy gets distracted. I don't care what you do. I'd really rather not there be physical interference, at least.
Yeah.
But I think that, first of all, we need to set up Solo versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, because I think that would just be fun. But also, that will also set up, again, Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania. I don't care. I'm doing it. I don't care if my heart gets broken. I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be nice to touch, like you said, hasn't been done. I think that's fun with, fantasy booking this stuff. It's like, what can we kind of throw in that's not really been done before, but seems plausible. Doesn't seem like a bad thing. Seems very in character. That could be a lot of fun. Just drop it, leave. No interaction. And with that too, it's like depending on who's holding the title, who's holding the World Heavyweight title at the time of the Chamber. That's Rhodes' way of declaring who he's finally coming after, because everybody that's in that World Heavyweight Championship picture right now. Like, Rhodes has beef with a lot of those guys, or could have beef very easily with a couple of those guys. Even though a lot of them are faces and work together, it's like it's still a title. He still wants a title. It's not the title he wants, of course, but so I think that could add a little intrigue of like, oh, he's finally declaring who he wants. I like it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I liked yours too as well. Obviously, I said that earlier, but okay, so. We all know the matches that we're setting up now at WrestleMania. I think we probably both know what's going to happen in terms of the results. Is there anything that you want to say in terms of the build of these matches from Chamber to WrestleMania, or do you just want to skip right to the meat and potatoes of what's going to happen?
I'm fine just kind of getting the meat and potatoes. I think the Styles Reigns match lends itself to Mania due to the numbers game that everybody always has trouble with. Styles has the Good Brothers in his corner. I think you could even have them come out to the ring with him at Mania to try to neutralize. So when you get that inevitable interference from both Solo and Jimmy, and that helps. You can even have builds between the Good Brothers and the Bloodline. You don't even have to have just have the face-to-face promo interaction between Styles and Roman. Let your henchmen do the work in the build-up. And it's a short build-up. I believe that's like a 5 or 6 week build-up. But, you could easily, there's a lot of things you could do. Roman's probably only going to appear on TV 2, maybe 3 times in between Chamber and Mania anyway. Mm-hmm. So one big front, face-to-face, interchange the OC tag team and Jimmy and Solo and, what have you, Solo Styles one-on-one match at some point, of course, and yeah, I think the build is kind of there, and again, if the Good Brothers come out with Styles, he's already like, I know interference is probably gonna happen, I'm ready for it, I think Roman still wins, I'm not gonna put Styles over Roman, no reason to put Styles over Roman at that point. It takes away from where I'm seeing the longer term picture of, I know you don't like, but at least another 6, maybe 9 months of Roman with the title. Because again, we have multiple people, things count. Triple H is making things count more now. He's pulling from, we talked about this last week, I feel. He's pulling from threads of 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So there's a lot that he can still play with, So I don't think. And again, I think it's a big deal for them to put Reigns at least one more notch on that list of longest title reigns.
Fair enough. Okay. So obviously Roman wins at Mania for you. Rhodes wins at Mania for me. And there's look, everything that you have said logically makes sense. I am not disputing that. Obviously, if you think that Roman has other stories to tell, I agree that he has other stories to tell. I agree that Rhodes, if he is in the Mania match, he's going to win, because if he doesn't, the world's going to burn. I think that if you're going to have Roman win at Mania, don't have it be against Cody, have it be someone else, and AJ's a great opponent. It's a marquee match. They did it a few years ago when Roman was first, really the big dog, and kind of won his first or second WWE championship, and they had a couple great matches, by the way.
Yep.
Everybody was like, Roman can't wrestle, he stinks, but it was great matches against AJ, so that means AJ's really good. No, it takes 2 to wrestle, yep. And Roman was always really good in the ring. We just didn't care because he wasn't Daniel Bryan. But
yeah, pretty much.
They were great back then, but obviously now they're both much different performers, obviously. Yeah. So But here's my issue. Not necessarily issue with what your booking would be, but just my issue with having Roman continue to be champion. We talked about it a little bit off air before we started here, but you kind of mentioned it earlier. Roman Reigns' title defenses are getting ridiculously repetitive. I think that, yes, you do have a lot of stories to tell left if you're Roman Reigns. But there's also a lot of things that WWE does that invite weird random stories to be told that are not in the current day. Brock Lesnar is a free agent, right? Mm-hmm. Brock Lesnar can show up at any show at any time and do whatever he wants. Roman Reigns can just become a free agent at some point. He can just show up. You want to have Seth Rollins win the World Heavyweight Championship back 11 months from now, and then Roman, after a year of being off TV, comes back and spears Rollins lights out, and they fight for the other world title, and Rollins wins and gets his big win against Roman Reigns and gets all his revenge. You can tell that in a year. You want to have Roman Reigns fight The Rock at WrestleMania. You don't need a championship for that. No. You want to have Roman Reigns fight Solo Sikoa. I completely agree. I think that needs to happen within the next 6 months. You know why you can have Solo... you know why you can have Roman and Solo fight? Because after the Tribal Chief loses his championship, Solo no longer has respect for Roman, stops doing what he says, Roman gets mad, tries to beat up Solo, Solo just beats the ever-living tar out of him, and then they have a match, and Solo wins. And Roman is so humiliated that he leaves WWE for a while. He's just gone. He goes, I have nothing. I have nothing left. My wise man left me. I would assume that Paul Heyman would just go with Solo, which I think would be fun, because Solo doesn't talk a whole lot, so I think it'd be perfect for him. Have him basically be called the Tribal Chief now, and then if you want to have a rematch down the road, you can. You can tell all of those stories without Roman Reigns being the champion. So, at least to me, right? There's obviously always room for opinion and everything, but to me, you can still tell all those stories without Roman being the Universal Champion and still being the same reign, with the same bloodline, with the same interference, with the same story. Oh my lord, I am losing my mind. Okay. I'm going to try not to have a stroke.
Please don't. Please don't.
I just think, because it's not just about Roman. It's about Cody. Yes. Did Cody survive this year? And not just survive. Did he thrive this year and be more popular than he ever has? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Did they put Cody in a couple of really, really fun matches this year? Yeah. Against Brock.
Brock was great.
Again, the War Games match. Great. I urge you to think of 9 more months or 12 more months of matches to put Cody Rhodes in, where you're afraid to have anybody beat him unless their name is Brock Lesnar. You can't have him face the other world champion for the other world championship, because that's not the world championship that Cody really wants. You can't have him face any other champion because it would be too low for him and his character at this point. And he's honorable, so it's not like you could just turn him heel and do something different for a year and then have him become a hero again.
Right.
Please tell me 12 months worth of rivalries that you're going to have Cody in where he's still popular by the time the next WrestleMania comes around or the next SummerSlam comes around. Yeah. Because truly, I can't think of any. They had him face Dominic Mysterio 4 times this year.
That was tough.
You talk about reaching into your bag of tricks and just pulling out anything you can find.
And it never made sense either. It's like, if everybody in the Judgment Day is going to be Dominic?
Exactly.
I never got that.
Cody Rhodes had to feud with the Judgment Day for 6 straight months to get to where we are. If you're going to tell me that there's another year where we're going to have to wait for Cody to win, please, you don't have a Brock match for a month and a half or 2 months or 3 months to lean on. You don't have a Judgment Day match. You don't have a world title match. You don't have an Intercontinental title match. What do you have? Is he going to feud with CM Punk for 6 months? Listen, as much as I would love CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes, not for 6 months. I don't want that. I don't want anybody versus each other for 6 months.
No.
So for me, again, it's not just about not that I'm sick and tired of Roman Reigns. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's deserved every single thing that he has. But if Roman would just win matches on his own, or win in a different way than Bloodline Interference Part 916, then
50.
I lost count, okay? Forgive me. I wouldn't be so mad about it. I wouldn't be so frustrated with it. And neither would all these fans. Yeah. They're frustrated with it. I'm sure you're frustrated with it. We're all frustrated with it. It gets to a point where if you keep telling the same story and yet you're still trying to go, but maybe this time will be different. No, it won't. Like, at a certain point, everybody's going to go, no, it won't. It's not going to be different. You know what's going to happen? Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa. Oh, you got another Bloodline member in there. Ooh, like, it's going to be the same story. I can't handle another year of it.
You're right. And you do bring up a valid point. It's like, what do you do with Cody? And I'm almost kind of seeing, like, if Roman tells a story, if we keep telling some stories with Roman, we were talking about PLEs, for 2024. After Mania, we'll get Backlash right away. I don't see Roman being there. But we got at least 2 Saudi matches. We still have Money to Bank, SummerSlam, and Bash in Berlin, and maybe 1 or 2 other PLEs in there. And that's by the time we get to... Bash in Berlin is August. So we probably, September, October. Another Saudi match in the Survivor Series in November. So I think by November, somewhere between August and November, I think Roman I think you start to split that bloodline where maybe Jimmy finally rises up, goes and hangs out with Jay. Then Solo's finally tired of doing all the dirty work, and he's like, "Look, man, you're on your own." Mm-hmm. And so that's why we finally get Cody. We get Cody and Roman, SummerSlam, maybe Bash in Berlin. We don't know what the September PLE is yet. This past year was Payback, but I think anyway. I think you eventually get to the non-interference finally not happening. But yeah, I think that's a good valid point though. What do you do with Cody? Maybe he helps with NXT talent. Maybe he'll get, I don't know. That's a good question. But so I'm looking more at, the picture itself. Styles is back. I think we were kind of waiting to see when Styles came back. The way it had been going, I figured we probably wouldn't see him until a Rumble entrant. But now that he's back, it's like, let's get that story quick. It seemed like we were kind of there a couple months ago. Let's fit it in. Right, if we fit in Orton, we'll fit in 1 or 2 more before we finally have Rhodes and Reigns. And then and I agree, it's like when you get to that match of Solo and Roman, that doesn't mean the title at all. The title should be off of Roman at that point because again, that's the only reason you can really do those 2 together. And it's like Roman finally has no help. Solo. Yeah. And, maybe that's even in front of the elders or something, too. You really build it up. We were even talking before we recorded. Jay and Roman were supposed to fight for the title tribal chief, and you brought up there wasn't supposed to be any kind of interference. There still was. So
and it was the most illogical and stupid interference you could have, where Jimmy turns on his brother because he loves him, but he says he's not in the bloodline, and then 2 weeks later he's back in the bloodline. It's like, okay, yeah, what was the point of any of this then?
Yeah, there's some weird, hey, this happened, we're going to backtrack it. I never quite really got that.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think they finally kind of got back, got that whole story, back on track.
Yeah.
Styles, Roman at Mania, Roman obviously retaining.
And the last thing I wanted to say was I have a particular way I would like Cody to win at Mania. Okay. At this point, Jimmy and Solo are still in the bloodline. They're still fully, I need to protect my tribal chief. Jimmy will lose to Jay, night 1 of WrestleMania. I have Solo facing Randy Orton. I have Solo beating Randy Orton in night 2. So, the way I have it is the match breaks down. It's any man's game. We're getting towards the end. And instead of last year where it's like a sneak attack, Jimmy Uso's music actually hits. And it's like, oh God, here we go again. Bloodline interference again. He starts coming down all slow, right? Like Jimmy Uso does. He's, doing all that crap, whatever he's doing. And then Jay comes out and attacks Jimmy and stops Jimmy. And he's out on, he stays out on the apron. There. Mm-hmm. Come on, Cody. Come on. I'm here. I got your back.
Right.
Because they've had each other's back this whole time. I'm here. I got you. Mm-hmm. I'm not leaving you.
Yeet.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. Yeet. Let's go, boy. Yeet. Right? And then, unfortunately, Solo Sikoa's music hits. And he comes down, and that's a lot more menacing music, right? Dun, 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 dun. He's sitting there staring at his thumb, and he's so ready. Funny. And the announcers are saying, Solo is going to cost Cody Rhodes again. It's going to happen again. And Solo comes out and beats up Jay, and he's just like, all right, time for me to do my job and keep the Tribal Chief's title again. And Randy Orton sneaks and slithers into the ring and hits an RKO. And they chase Jimmy and Solo off, but unlike Kevin and Sami last year, where they ran the bloodline off, they stay. They stay at ringside. Why? Jay gets to watch, finally, his tribal chief, or his former tribal chief, lose the title, which is what he always wanted. And Randy gets to watch his protege win. And in the ring, Cody is celebrating. Jay and Randy are in there with him. And then eventually, they obviously give Cody the ring. And Cody celebrates by himself and kisses the mat like he always does during these big matches. And there's, I assume, enormous Dusty chants that rain out. And just it's a glorious moment. But I think that little small bit of storytelling, first of all, gets rid of the bloodline interference. Mm-hmm. Second of all, makes Roman really pissed at Solo for not doing his job and protecting the tribal chief. Because at this point, Roman doesn't even think, I don't even know if he knows Jimmy exists.
I don't think so.
I don't think he does. But he knows Solo exists.
Or he doesn't hear that he exists.
Right. So whatever story you want to tell there with Roman being ticked off at Solo and blaming Solo, because that would be what Roman could do, is it's not my fault. It's your fault. You're the reason I lost. And Solo's just like, I've had enough of that. And again, the Randy Orton aspect and the history that he has with Cody. And the cathartic, he already roots for Cody. We saw it in War Games. Mm-hmm. He could have won that match. But he said, no, Cody, it's your time now. It was my time in 2009. It's your time now. I think that makes sense for Randy to go, no, I'm here for you like you were here for me. Like, that's what good people do. Yep. And Jay is like, Cody, you gave me my second chance. I'm not letting you down. I'm not having this happen, what's happened to me for years, I'm not having it happen to you again. Yeah. Like, I think it just makes sense. And plus, Jay gets to play the part in ending Roman Reigns like he's always wanted. Yep. I think it just blends everything together. You don't have to have the temptation, I'm sure, for some people watching is going to be, then you're going to have Randy Orton RKO Cody Rhodes immediately? No. No. That'll be the night after WrestleMania. Okay. No, I don't know what it would be. It doesn't matter if it's booking anyway. We're booking the WrestleMania. But I think that would just be such a beautiful full circle moment for all three of those men that's a perfect way to end Roman Reigns' reign. And then you can transition into Roman versus, if you want to do a rematch, I think you probably gotta. If you're training for 3 years, you probably deserve a rematch, I'd say. Yeah. You could do that at WrestleMania Backlash. Cody wins again. But this time, you're telling the story that Roman thinks it's Solo's fault. and Solo legitimately attacks Roman and just beats the ever-living tar out of him. Cody capitalizes, retains the title, then he's like, Solo! And then that's your next pay-per-view match. Solo wins. Roman's now lost 3 straight pay-per-views. He's humiliated. He's got no wise man. He's got no tribe. He's got no trophies. He's got no championships. He's got no nothing. He's got no family. He's done. So he just leaves. Yeah. I think that's how you can tell that story. Now, you're telling it in a different way. Makes sense to me. I feel like my story makes sense too. And also, I get Cody winning at Mania, please. So there's that, but... Yeah. Okay, that's going to do it for the Universal Championship booking through WrestleMania. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments section below. I appreciate you all watching. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to be the World Heavyweight Championship being booked all the way through WrestleMania. It's going to come out sometime around Christmas, not on Christmas Day, but it's going to be sometime during that week, so keep an eye out for that. See you all next time.